Welcome, welcome, welcome to the working that is Chrononaut Chronicles. My name is Bill, and I will be your guide on this particular Sonic adventure. So, what is it exactly that we do at Chrononaut Chronicles? Well, I guess there's four sections to the show. If we include the Old Farmer's Almanac, which is what we cover first, and the point is behind this is to see what is lying in store for us this week, right? What energies are going to be conjoining with what other energies, and how can we, if we want to, capitalize and work with them, right? So that's the first segment, is the Old Farmer's Almanac. Generally, it's pretty short. Another short segment that we do afterwards is the gratitude segment. And this is a holdover from 13 Questions podcast that Adam and I did. And the whole point behind that one is to perpetuate the heart-brain coherence connection. So this is more than just a once weekly exercise that we do on the show. The point is to hopefully do it every day, right? And then, just to find some way to perpetuate and continue to live in the bubble of thinking with your heart and your brain at the same time, right? The heart-brain coherence. And then we have after that the silver segment where we try to learn something new. And this does include current events, and because this provides context for the time in which we find ourselves. And we also try to pick out the silver lining in these stories, right? And if we can't find any, at least we can remember that this too shall pass. And that's always nice to, or that's always good to keep in mind. And it also reminds me of Memento Mori, actually. So uh, if things are so bad, just remember that eventually you'll die and not have to worry about anything. So yeah, there you go. And to end the segment, or I'm sorry, to end the show, we do have a sword segment, newly branded sword segment, and it's called the sword segment because it has to deal with thinking, and this correlates to um, the air element in tarot, which is swords are on that card, and just like words, swords can be used to harm or help. But the point of that segment is empowerment, right? So we're going to empower you. We've been doing a lot of Neville Goddard. We'll continue to do Goddard for a little bit. I picked out a reading from his 1942 book called Freedom for All, and the chapter is about healing. That's the name of the chapter, is healing. So back to the almanac. Kind of a busy week this time around. Today, actually, Moon and Pluto are conjunct. Tomorrow we'll have a full moon tomorrow. That is the Sturgis moon, the Sturgeon moon, full Sturgeon moon, according to the old Farmer's Almanac. Thursday we'll have Saturn and the moon conjunct, and Friday is Neptune and the moon. And just a quick little fun fact I found in the Farmer's Almanac on today actually is the anniversary for the MGM lion roar that was heard for the first time on screen on this day in 1928, and the lion's name was Jackie, Jackie the lion. I thought that was kind of interesting timing, just because I know that we are in the Lionsgate portal time frame. To my understanding, that is a astrological alignment, has to do with Leo, and I guess the peak is on 8/8. So it'll be, still next week or a couple of weeks away. But you think they did that on purpose? Did they time that with the release of, because of Lionsgate and the MGM Lion roaring? Probably some kind of cult meaning behind there.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of occult undertones that are reused in films over and over, certain actors that are reused over and over in certain types of uh, ritualistic scenes. So, yeah, I mean, magic works. Why not bake it in if you know about it?
It's interesting. It does have a psychological effect, like because especially a lion roar that instills, most of the time fear in somebody. Because if you're out, unless you're at a zoo, right, and you hear a lion roar, you're probably going to be a little freaked out. Kind of like how humans have that the reaction to uncanny, like the uncanny valley. So uh, I don't know where I was going with that, but certainly is interesting to see that anniversary there. Oh yeah, the fear thing. Yeah, why are they preloading us with that before we watch whatever feature film? That's like they're trying to make that the default goal there, which isn't too
Predictive
helpful.
programming.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, enough of that. I'm going to start the gratitudes off this week with a real simple one. It's just clean water. I think I used the water thing recently because we had an RO system put in, but we had to get a new softener system recently as well, actually today. So, yeah, super excited to have clean, healthy water to bathe in and wash in and brush your teeth in and all that good stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty simple. It's interesting that we're close to Flint, Michigan. So I know that there were some problems up in Flint a while ago, and water has been kind of a big concern up in Michigan, I guess, since then. And it's just nice to know that it's not the case
No,
here.
that's awesome. But at least from Flint, that was due to mistreating the pipes with the chemicals they were using. And after so many years, they just started getting a catastrophic fallout from all the metal starting to leach out. And so it's not necessarily the source water per se, but the utility. So I wouldn't be worried that Flint is leaching into your water per se,
Right.
no more than the pipes that it's in or in the soil already leaching into the aquifer.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm kind of grateful for. Oh, I should mention, by the way, before we get too far in, that this show is sponsored by mysticalwares.com. Derek is not here with us, so this will just be a normal release on Tuesday evenings. But yeah, Adam, what have you been up to? What are you grateful for?
I am thankful that there's people out there that are capitalizing on government programs that are not easily accessible or known about. Um, Angie got signed up through somebody that got a referral number for her. The supplemental insurance that is offered that you can sign up for if you qualify. And she did, and they give you X amount of dollars on a Visa card that is reloaded that you can use to pay directly through utility companies, order, medical supplies, different things. And it's something that we had never even known about that was out there, but yet somebody walked us through the entire process and got us signed up and it is fully legit and it's amazing because these systems are here and need to be here, which is amazing. But I don't know, as crazy it is that I get all worked up about like little startups and all these multi-level marketing and just so many of these telemarketer type business systems that uh, when directed in the right direction, they can be incredibly beneficial. So, um, yeah, I don't know exactly what I'm grateful for in that, but I'm grateful that there's a system that people are capitalizing on that actually has substantial benefits.
Oh yeah, if it's helping you meet a need, and especially like everyday shit for like, utilities and whatnot, that's awesome. Was it super difficult? Would it have been more difficult to navigate if you hadn't, someone hadn't held your hand, and showed you like
Oh
what to
yeah,
do?
absolutely.
Was it? It was a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, it's just like any other government program, purposefully difficult.
Well, at least you found it and you're taking advantage of it. So that is good news. And we do have Ben here with us as well. Uh that's the last Chrononaut you'll probably hear from in this episode. So it's just me, Ben, and Adam. So Ben, what's been going on? What are you thankful for?
Oh, but it's, but, um, it's,
You sound like Boomhauer, Ben.
Yeah,
uh,
maybe maybe start over, getting choppy again.
my uh, 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 okay.
I heard that.
Huh.
Oh, okay. So we were talking a little bit before the show, and Ben is having some phone issues. He is kind of out in the middle of nowhere in the sticks, so that is to be expected, I guess. Well, Ben, if you can still hear us, feel free to, I don't know, jump in whenever, or if you don't feel like messing with it, that's fine too. Or if you just want to listen, that'd be, that's fine as well. Because normally we do this live. Whenever Derek is here with us, he has a radio station that we broadcast live on, and you can listen to that and chat with us on chrononautchronicles.com. So, but not for this episode, which is okay. Oh, Ben, we lost Ben. So we might hear from Ben in a little bit, but let's move on to the silver segment. And for those of you that have been following along, I have brought up in the past this cage fight that is supposed to happen between Zuckerberg and Musk. Well, Zuckerberg recently released this new social media platform called Threads, and Twitter has been rebranded to X, and they both, had their debut or whatever. So I'm thinking that was the cage fight. And if you follow the news with Threads or whatever, I think that it went pretty poorly. And I could probably say that Elon won the cage fight. But yeah, I think that was the fight. I don't think I think Zuckerberg actually said it's not going to happen. So just wanted to throw that conjecture out there. I know Adam, this is not something that you follow because it's social media related. I know that you don't interact on those platforms, but did you hear about the Threads thing, the new Facebook launch?
Yeah, I heard about it, and then it got laughed out of all the people that I saw that were looking into it. I pretty much just use Twitter for news and UFO news. So
Uh, I think Ben might be back. So
but
you
yeah,
do.
I definitely heard about it, but I certainly didn't have a rocket launch off.
Uh,
I mean, more people are talking about X than they are Threads.
yeah, they are. We're gonna actually talk about X after this. If Ben is back, I don't know if he wants to try to share gratitude real quick, but we were just talking about how the cage fight was actually the release of Threads and then the upgrade of Twitter to X. Did you have any? Well, first of all, can you hear us?
Well, yeah, can you hear me this time?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Excellent. So I was gonna say I was grateful for small miracles. And I guess I don't know. I just had to like clear some energy and cleanse my space real quick for that, but it seems to be working now. Um, and as to whatever you were talking about, I'm completely unaware of whatever any of that is.
Well, that's completely okay because it's not super important. But I had mentioned that the cage fight between Zuckerberg and Musk, it's not going to happen. But yeah, speaking of small miracles, yeah, it's the little things, right? Being able to talk on the phone, and yeah. So,
Well, and I've had quite an adventure lately, navigating some different carpentry jobs, and was lucky enough to observe some synchronicity and follow the breadcrumbs, and winding up in a pretty awesome situation. So
oh yeah, anything too spooky or not spooky is not the right word, but like overtly conspicuous or uncanny, maybe?
hmm it's kind of hard to say. I've developed um kind of my own way of observing and communicating. So there was a lot of number synchronicity. I was deep in a kind of trance communion with some ancestors, uh, and a lot of the time that uh, messages come in on the wings of birds, like we've discussed in the past, I guess. And a couple birds flew in my truck.
Oh, what? Oh, Ben. We lost Ben again. He was a little choppy. It is interesting that he brings up birds, though, because we'll be talking about birds in the sword segment. Oh, there's Ben again. He dropped out for like just a few seconds. And you said that you had some birds fly in your car. That's the last that we heard of you.
And I was talking with a friend about healing grandmother wounds and things like that, and communing with ancestors. And there were some energetic hijinks, just like that, where I lost the signal for,
Right.
ghosts like to have fun too. So
Stop when we're broadcasting. They can take it easy, clear out some more space, maybe. I don't know. But birds, yeah, I don't think you heard my comment. The birds has a lot to do with the third segment, the sword segment in healing. It's a story about two birds, actually. So, and you had two birds fly in your car, right?
oh, fun.
Yeah. So we'll get into that.
Yeah. Well, one under my awning where I was sitting, and just kind of a hummingbird just kind of hovered and
Well, it still counts. It's it's it
oh
was under a roof, so inside, right?
yeah.
So the speaking back to Twitter news, I guess. I'll put this in the chat, and I guess I will include the sword segment links in the show notes. I'll just put them at the very bottom after all the important stuff, like links to our website and social media. But this is from Watcher.guru and Twitter's X to become half of the world's financial system, according to Elon Musk. So just real quickly here, we all know that Musk is rebranded Twitter's iconic Bluebird logo into an X. And the reshaping of the social media giant could also integrate payment systems across the world. Users might be able to send and receive money through Twitter's X, hinted the billionaire in a recent interview. Musk is bullish on X and forecasted that the payment integration could become half of the global financial system. However, he cautioned that its success could be possible only if things fall into place as planned and are done right. He quotes, X would become half the global financial system if done right. Thanks. The tech entrepreneur did not reveal further details about the payment systems, but laid it out there that Twitter could take a new turn in the financial world. Twitter's new CEO, Linda tweeted that X is just getting started, indicating that there would be many more changes and events. For years, fans and critics have pushed Twitter to dream bigger, to innovate faster, and fulfill our great potential. X will do that and more. We've already started to see X take shape over the last 8 months through our rapid feature launches, but we're just getting started. So that would be quite interesting to it kind of reminds me of I don't know, Umbrella Corp, like everything's contained in
Yeah, well,
one
I mean, this has been
environment.
Elon's plan since almost the beginning. If you go back to eBay and PayPal, he wanted to rebrand as X. He had X.com back then. He was talking about creating a platform, like a giant financial system. PayPal, obviously, huge, but he ended up getting booted out of the company. And he's talked openly about wanting to create an American version of like WeChat, which is your social media, social credit score, your credit, your banking, all of that tied through one application. So yeah, I mean, it's well on the way. I mean, that was really the checkmark system was kind of that that first toe dip in, and he's in the process of getting all the regulations set up right now for to becoming a banking institution.
Yeah, definitely something to keep your eye on in the future. I didn't know that he had been gunning for this for a while. So I guess it's
Yeah. Listen, my heads up was big shout out to the No Agenda Show podcast. Adam Curry's been talking about this for, oh my God, a long time, probably 6 months or more at least.
yeah, so Elon has kind of put himself in the same ring as his WorldCoin operation. Have you guys heard about WorldCoin and the orbs? So yeah, I think Elon pretty much declared war on WorldCoin. But so I think this is I know that this is from AmericanMilitaryNews.com. I'll throw that in there for you guys. But yeah, this WorldCoin is a little even more, I think, a little more heebie-jeebie-ish. It says the company of WorldCoin, a company seeking to create a new financial network owned by everyone, wants billions of people to scan their eyes for a global ID, which he says will happen whether you like it or not. WorldCoin consists of a privacy-preserving digital identity, World ID, and where laws allow, a digital world currency, WLD, received simply for being human. We hope that where the rules are less clear, such as in the US, steps will be taken so more people can benefit from both, CEO Alex said in a joint statement. Alex recently insisted that a global form of ID will eventually be required to access the internet. So he quotes, so my high level response is that something like World ID will eventually exist, meaning that you will need to verify that you are human on the internet, whether you like it or not. He said, according to CoinDesk. It's probably going to happen in the next couple of years, he added. In October 2021, a report revealed over 100,000 people had volunteered to have their eyes scanned in exchange for WorldCoin cryptocurrency. According to Financial Times, WorldCoin is part of an effort to distribute digital distribute digital money more broadly around the world. The project has already taken out about 30 devices called orbs, which are being used to scan people's eyes on 4 continents. After taking a photo of the user's eye, the orb creates a unique code that can be used to access free digital currency. Early orb users get rewards for signing up more people. Alex insisted the project would not invade users' privacy, noting that the orbs convert the eye photos into unique codes composed of letters and numbers before permanently deleting the scans. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, the company that launched the popular artificial intelligence large language model ChatGPT, is a co-founder of WorldCoin. Altman previously said he hopes the rapidly advancing technology will quote unquote break capitalism. I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like having my eyeball scanned for free money. It's not free. If you had to give away your
You've already had your eyeball scanned. You go to the airport, you know what's going on.
I don't. Is that a new thing at the airport? Are they scanning people's eyeball?
Listen, man, you have a phone that has a camera on it, right?
Yeah,
You've been scanned.
probably. Not at the airport though. Maybe. Maybe.
But you're not going to the airport, you know.
Yeah, these orbs, they look like little alien probe things you'd see like, floating around in the sky. It is
Say, what kind of alien probes?
the round ones, you know. So that is that story. Uh Whether you like it or not, see that kind of that just rubs me the wrong way. Probably not going to do that. Ben,
Yeah, I'm not fond of that language either. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But if it is true, like Adam said, that we've already been scanned, then it's already done. So where's my money?
I just assume that because if you look at how like TikTok is monetizing, you know, a lot of their targeted advertising is the people that are uploading their stuff. It's scanning the background, it's scanning your environment, and it's looking at the products you have in your house, and then it's making a database. It's building information on you. So I mean, if we're at that level, you know, if there's a camera or something out there that can scan your eye, like the data's going to get sucked up by somebody somewhere. Like, why wouldn't
Right.
you? It's like the government's probably not targeting and listening directly to you, but the advertisers absolutely are.
Yeah, I was going to say the government I'm worried about less than the corporations.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Because
I'm not,
if I'm
not
getting
that
the
I'm
focus of
worried
that
about,
train, like you're not going to avoid the hammer that's going to come down on you. If the U.S. government really
yeah,
wants to drill into you and your data, they're gonna find a way. Like they'll show up while you're sleeping and hold your eyelid open.
yeah, I suppose things like that really can be the least of your concern at this point, right? I mean, the technology is what it is, and it's steaming right along at its own pace.
Well,
So,
what I couldn't believe, and I've heard my parents say this, there was this new app that they were using where you scan all of your receipts in and you get discounts and coupons sent back to you that you can use on like Amazon or different places to cash in. And I'm like, yeah, but you're the product. You're giving them this information. They're building on you. It's like, yeah, but somebody's taking it. We might as well take advantage of it. I'm like, that's where we're at. Okay. And that blew me
yeah,
away, becoming the norm.
the
Like we've been oppressed so much, it's acceptable.
right, the robot vacuums have their own network on your right when they're moving around your house. I saw it on my phone. Asked my dad about it. He goes, "Yeah, I don't understand." And I'm like, "You're just letting a robot vacuum make some rules in your house. That's interesting."
I think the Ring
Yeah.
doorbells do that too. They make their own networks in case of a power outage, and so they can
Yep. Yep. They can talk to each other.
siphon your neighbor's signal, so they can
And
still
those things are
call them.
terrifying too, because let's say you have a Ring doorbell system, but you also have security cameras in your house. Maybe you have some cameras in your bedroom, or you have a camera in your kid's room, you know, so you can keep an eye on them to make sure that everything's okay. But then, you know, your neighbor's house gets robbed and the police go and get a warrant and get your video to do an investigation on. They give them indiscriminate access to your videos. And now all of a sudden, the police have photos of you, your family, the inside of your house, who knows what else that you've openly given, and um, you lose all rights at that point. So it's a weirdly invasive thing that everybody's doing.
I do kind of like the attitude of let's get something for it if it's already being taken though. Like,
I have a different view, which is how about like I am addicted to YouTube. I love YouTube with all of their problems, with all the things they do. The content I'm going after that's controversial isn't what I'm going to YouTube for, anyways. But I pay for no ads. As soon as TiVo hit the market, I was a huge TiVo fan, got a TiVo, and since then, I don't ever watch any advertisement on television. Like I will avoid it at all ends. So that's my view. It's like if you could give me a platform like a Twitter with no sponsored ads, I'll pay. It's worth it. Because
so
otherwise I'm paying anyways.
right. So have you, I don't know how long you've been avoiding ads for, but have you noticed any changes in your cognitive, health or whatever?
Oh no, this has
Or
been, I mean, when did TiVo come out? We're talking like 15, 20 years
is it that long?
or something. Like I had an early TiVo, yeah, when I was living with my parents. So, I mean, obviously I get exposed to ads, the internet, but you know, and there's a couple shows that I'll watch where they'll intersplice ads. The only thing that I've ever noticed in any advertisement is you could see the collapse of Hollywood happening beforehand because of all the A-list celebrities that were doing dishwasher and laundry detergent ads. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I'm like, Hollywood's falling apart.
It is. That's a silver lining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I come across an ad on, I don't know, Amazon or whatever, I'll mute it. Like,
Well, I should say it's a silver lining that the evil parts of the system are falling apart. You know, there's been some good people in that industry that have been working that have, you know,
been blacklisted. Yeah.
who've been outspoken or blacklisted. Yeah, that still do good work, that are known for not taking the crap from the Weinsteins, you know, and so it's always interesting that I think those people will always do good, but that's certainly not the majority of Hollywood. Have you seen Ricky Gervais's Golden Globes Award speech that he did, or when he did the Globe Awards?
No, I did
I'm
not.
gonna find you a link, and you're gonna have to watch it because he insults all of the worst aspects of Hollywood, all of the things they do, and it is hilarious. Hilarious. He roasts them in the most honest way possible, and the nervous laughter and clapping and looking around tells you everything you know about the system. And that was another moment when you could see that the pillar had fallen. It was, to me, it was the commercials, which was just kind of like a slow burn, but seeing Ricky Gervais do that and then seeing the Will Smith slap or punch, decking, whatever you want to call it, and him still being not escorted out, being allowed to get his reward again, was really just showed you everything about the system on its face. And yeah, I don't know. It's lovely that people are not willing to accept it anymore. Like, who thought that Disney would be the ones who would be losing their ass right now by following, you know, the perceived cultural norm, which they've always kind of been on that level, but now it's just turned toxic on a company level. So yeah, it's good. It's a good weird collapse of Hollywood. I'd say it's more of like a restructuring. You know, who are the popular people now? Like, kids don't know the Disney stars. You know, they're not going to know the Hannah Montanas. They know the YouTube stars. You know, it's, which could just be your friend from down the street.
Right? It could just be you
Yeah.
if you wanted to. Ben, did you?
You know, to play devil's advocate though, seeing some of that could be humiliation ritual as well, which is kind of the tower moment, right, for either the individual or the entity. And then there's a big level up after that in whatever perceived power you're going for. So
I like that. I like that idea. Yeah, if we can get a better version of the entertainment industry at the end of this, that's something to send some good vibes towards for sure.
Well, I think we already are. Like, this is gonna sound crazy. To be quote, man, I'm getting old. That's the problem, to think it's crazy. LTT, Linus Tech Tips, which is a very, very large YouTuber out of Canada. They just did a series where they what do you call it? They shop their sponsors. So they ordered expensive products from a whole bunch of the sponsors that sponsor the show, and basically suggested there was a problem with the product that either did or didn't exist, because some of the products came with functional issues, and then gave them a review, and not good reviews across the board. And it's things like that where they're saying directly to their customer, like, it's you, the viewer is you, and the advertiser is beholden to us. We want to be recommending good tech products. We do tech reviews. We're testing the products, and seeing reflections like that, where it's no longer, you know, changing the ad lines, changing the reading, changing how you're describing a product so it makes the manufacturer look better. It's putting an onus on the manufacturer to build a better product. And you're seeing just these groups are taking up and being so influential. But yeah, I there really is something to that, at least the philosophy of YouTube, which in its earliest beginnings, I loved before all the political stuff got involved, just like eBay. What eBay did for being able to connect people and share in business fronts was amazing. And YouTube really did the same thing. It essentially said, look, here's an industry that's been, beholden to these video people. And then as soon as the iPhone and good quality cameras came along, anybody could join, anybody could participate. Now you're taking out these old systems, the old Hollywood, these big businesses where, I mean, look at the size of the cameras that they used to have to use. The way that they used to start doing video and film and then radio and then audio. And now it's just gotten down to a price point and a distribution point that, yeah, to look at the silver lining again, even as restricted as all of the platforms are, people still have way more power with their voice getting out there than you did when there was 4 channels that were controlled by, one of 6 major corporations and the US government.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean,
Now I
instead
can
of-
tweet and it can go viral, and the algorithms can shut me off and all that, but like people are still hearing your voice. So it's still better than it used to be.
It is, and it can be cathartic too, just being able to be heard. I mean, that's why I started hanging out on Cruising with Steak all those years ago, is because it's cathartic, just to get on and talk on a microphone for a little bit. Maybe not for
But it's
everybody.
it's ultimately it's people connecting just like that. Because why is Twitter powerful for news? Well, because let's say that there's an explosion in Boston or something, or pick a location in an event, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I have family there. I want to know news. I could turn on the TV. They haven't started reporting it, or maybe it's super local. But now I go to Twitter, I can start looking for hashtags, and boom, I'm getting somebody who's in the building. They're taking pictures, they're uploading it. It is as live as you can be. It's direct from person to person, instantaneous. And I'm no longer relying on the news team, on somebody else to tell me. I'm relying on another person that's on the same platform as I am.
One of the things, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm ranting. I'm stealing the show.
No, I was just gonna say one of the things that I really do appreciate about the new, I don't have a Twitter or an X or whatever, but the advent of community notes, right? Instead of fact checkers, like it's actually the community doing the fact checking. So back to your citizen journalism point, like you're not relying on, somebody like whatever fact checking agency is out there to do it. It's actual, who other users that are doing the fact checking, right? And making amendments to whatever post is whatever said, right?
Yeah.
Adding addendums. Yeah.
Yeah, let information stand on its own, right? The strongest information will ultimately win. You don't need to stuff one in a hole.
Speaking of stuffing holes, no. Speaking of strongest will win. Trying to segue off this segment. We're gonna talk a little bit about Russia. To begin with, I mentioned a few episodes ago about them. I put that in the chat if you guys want to look, about them taking the digital ruble, taking the ruble digital, right? So this is from RT.com, super short. I just wanted to bring it up again just because I mentioned it, but Putin did sign the necessary law to introduce the electronic currency. He signed it on Monday, not today, not some other Monday, that introduces a digital ruble. According to the document published on the official government portal, the electronic currency will become operational on August 1st, which is tomorrow. The digital currency will be issued alongside the traditional ruble, both cash and non-cash. It will be used to make transfers and payments and will be kept in digital wallets on a platform operated by the central bank. It will not be possible to open a deposit, take out a loan, or receive interest on the digital currency. Putin also introduced relevant amendments to the civil code to enable the digital ruble to be bequeathed and inherited. The idea of introducing a national digital currency was unveiled by the Bank of Russia in late 2020. Unlike virtual currencies such as Bitcoin, the digital ruble is projected to pose minimal risk, as it will be issued by the state monetary regulator and backed by traditional money. So it's like a hybrid, which I think is super interesting. Maybe that's just because I think hybrid in general, like the whole concept of a hybrid is interesting to me. But so this is some kind of like weird digital currency that's backed by ruble, which is still fiat, right? I don't think that they have a gold backed currency, do they? I think that's what BRICS is talking about doing, but
It's just a way to track the value of a person and how they're exchanging it, and give them more control.
give the central bank more control, right? Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately that's what they're trying to do. You know, once digital currencies get out there and we can start exchanging value between us, I think that's an unstoppable system at this point that they're trying to get ahead of it. Just wait, you're going to see, at least in the US, a national e-coin type thing that's going to go out. So like a cryptocurrency for all Americans. That way, during the next pandemic, for special programs or Medicaids or things like that, it will be distributed and given directly to you in your account through a cryptocurrency transfer. And then at that point, you'll probably only be allowed to exchange it with, certain retailers and whatnot. And if you're a bad boy there, Mr. William, no food for you, no medicine.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that.
I'm
So
very hopeful about our future.
you're very what?
Very hopeful about our future.
Well, speaking of hopeful topics, this next one really isn't too hopeful because it has to do with the war. Like we haven't really been talking about the war at all, just because I try not to cover what everybody else is going to be talking about on other podcasts that do a way better job of explaining current events than this one does. But this is actually from a creator on Telegram by the name of BioClandestine. So this is just some commentary on what's been happening uh, over there, over there. So while Americans were distracted with Barbie slash Oppenheimer over the weekend, otherwise known as Barbenheimer, I added that part,
Oppenheimer.
Barbenheimer. The mainstream media quickly shifted the Ukraine narrative, and this is the part that caught my eye. It's just the moving of the goalposts, right? So, pro-Western analyst Lieutenant General Kellogg details how Ukraine's counteroffensive is not going well. That's a quote. Admitting that Ukraine never had the numbers or any air support, both of which would be needed for a successful offensive. Kellogg essentially admits that NATO sent Ukraine into a slaughter, lacking the adequate combat multipliers needed to conduct an assault. It was suicide, completely against baseline US combat protocol to engage at such a disadvantage. Confirming the counteroffensive was a political move, not a tactical one. Kellogg then expresses that the West and the US are going to look bad and have to answer questions about this failure. They will either have to escalate or look to peace negotiations because this war is practically over. He admits that a war of attrition favors Russia. And then he uses the new buzzword to describe Ukraine's colossal failure: stalemate. Stalemate is the new talking point for Western mainstream media in an attempt to slowly normalize the public to accept their defeat. But you'll notice the only articles about the stalemate over the weekend were from New York Times and Wall Street Journal, both of which have a paywall. They are trying to subtly sneak these stories behind paywalls because they know 99% of the population refuses to pay to read news. All the indicators suggest the mainstream media know this war is over and have shifted into face-saving mode. They will first say that it's a stalemate, and then slowly their language will progress towards Ukraine's defeat, likely behind more paywalls, hoping that the majority of the population doesn't notice. The shift in the mainstream media's coverage on Ukraine indicates something big is coming. The deep state needs a new narrative. After Mueller Russia failed, COVID showed up in the mainstream shortly after, and then the mainstream used Ukraine to dismount off of COVID. what's the next propaganda campaign? Any ideas there? I didn't expect for you to actually have one.
COVID Redux.
Yeah, right. COVID 2.0. But
I'm just taking the opportunity to not cast any spells.
yeah, no kidding. Maybe I won't do this next story then. No, but I don't know. It's super interesting to see how these events play out long term, right? Like over, instead of being sensationalized and wrapped up in the moment, if we take a step back and look at the way things unfold and how goalposts are continually moved and shifted in order to, you know, be tailored to whatever the thing is at the time, right? So it's just something to keep an eye out in the future for, and it'll be interesting to see how that progresses. But
Has anybody consulted the Simpsons Oracle? I mean, they've been pretty accurate so far.
I haven't seen any stories about that. It wouldn't surprise me though. There's got to be like some kind of weird AI Simpsons site where you can talk with Homer or something. I don't know. But yeah, totally not casting a spell for the next propaganda thing, but it does appear that Anthrax is back on the bingo card. So whatever weird timeline that contains, but
I always liked Anthrax. Good band.
just yeah, that is a good band actually. But yeah, I don't know. I remember Anthrax scares with mysterious powder in envelopes and shit. So maybe just don't open junk mail. I don't know. But this is from fiercepharma.com, and it's not too exciting or long. So just to get it out of the way here, under a pre-emergency use authorization, Emergent Biosolutions, which is a company, has provided the Department of Health and Human Services with its anthrax vaccine for emergency preparedness since 2019. 4 years later, Emergent won a full approval from the FDA for its use in adults 18 to 65 in conjunction with antibacterial drugs after suspected or confirmed exposure to the potentially fatal bacteria. So apparently anthrax is a bacteria. I didn't know that. Branded as Cyfendus, the vaccine includes anthrax vaccine absorbed, AVA, and an adjuvant. 2 doses provided over 14 days delivers a protective level of immune response. The news of the thumbs up, Emergent's share price has increased by 8% from close on Thursday. Emergent has had a few difficult years, reaching its height early in the pandemic after creating lucrative contracts to produce COVID-19 vaccines. But the CDMO had numerous missteps in producing the shots and saw the value of its shares fall from $133 to $7. Last month, the CEO, who had much to do with Emergent's rise, stepped down. Cyfendus has only been tested on animals, but it was successful in a phase 3 trial that measured its lot consistency, immunogenicity, and safely following a 2-dose schedule administered intramuscularly, Emergent said. A phase 2 study also has shown its non-interference with antibacterial drugs. So we need to add that on the bingo card if you have a bingo card. Conspiracy bingo card. Probably would have hit bingo a few times already since 2019, I would say. Excuse me. Yeah, I remember saying calling BS on COVID all the way back then. But I digress. Switching gears, unless you guys had any comments on anthrax. Probably not. Not very.
I was muted, but no.
Yeah. No. Uh, switching gears again. So we're shifting away from Russia. A new I mentioned this to Ben the other day on the phone, but worms. This is from YahooNews.com. Worms that contain the same lethal neurotoxin as pufferfish are invading the East Coast. Adam, are you aware of the hammerhead worm?
No, but that sounds amazing because now I'm just imagining like a giant cross between a tremor and a hammerhead shark.
Right? Yeah. It does have a little hammerhead. It's a
Yeah, I've seen some worms that have that type of
Yeah,
nose or hammerhead, but I've never heard it referred to as that.
I was gonna say it's more terrifying, Adam, because they're tiny, right? Or a lot smaller than tremors, anyway, and you can't really see them coming.
Maybe. I don't know. I've had an invasion of blind snakes in my house before, and they're just cute.
Yeah, that hammerhead kind of makes
Blind
me think
snakes, by the way, are
they're
like they're only like an inch long.
yeah. Well, the hammerhead kind of makes me think they're burrowers. So, and if they have a
Oh,
toxin,
yeah, like right through your skin.
yeah, into your heel, you're walking barefoot in the
Oh yeah.
backyard or whatever.
Oh yeah. And a true earworm.
suck trying to ground and then you get stung. Apparently it wouldn't kill you, which is good, but yeah, news.yahoo.com. Hammerhead worms are turning up all over Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia, the Washington Post reported. The worms carry the same toxins as a pufferfish, though a single worm probably couldn't kill a human. The hammerhead worm population will only grow as the climate continues to warm, researchers say. More on the warming climate in a second. This is kind of teeing up the next two stories I have. But uh, to finish the article, an invasive toxic worm has been found all over the mid-Atlantic region, and they could invade the whole East Coast in the coming years, thanks to a warming climate, experts say. Researchers have spotted the hammerhead worm hundreds of times in the area of Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia over the past 15 years. While a human would have to ingest several of these worms to feel the negative effects of their poison, they carry the same venom that can prove deadly when eating poorly prepared pufferfish. These worms, however, can prove deadly for other invertebrates like snails and slugs that they prey upon, and even household pets. The species has spread across the world, becoming an invasive species in several other regions as well. Computer models developed by climate researchers showed that the wider east coast of the United States will warm enough over the next several years to become prime habitat for the toxic creatures. Thankfully, if you spot one of these worms in your yard, you can easily stop them with a dose of salt before placing them in a bag with vinegar, alcohol, or salt for disposal. However, experts told the Post to ensure you're wearing gloves and to freeze the worms inside the bag before throwing them away.
Salt them, freeze them, cover them in acid. So basically everything that is going to kill your soil.
Well, I was gonna say that's sort of pickling them too, isn't it?
Ooh. I think we've solved the future hunger problem. Just eat worms.
Eat the worms. Yeah. So you got to salt it, and then you put it in a bag, and you put more salt in the bag, and then you freeze the bag, then you throw it away. So that's proper hammerhead disposal. But yeah, it just looks like a normal worm. It looks like a gummy worm, actually. It's got like a yellow main body, like a yellow orange's main body, and then the ends are black, like the tips are black. So
Sounds like a Montauk project.
yeah, yeah. It when I first read the article or saw the headline, I was like, I guess I'm not moving to the East Coast ever. But not it's not that scary. But
Did it say where they're native to?
no, it didn't. But I can find out.
There have been a lot of
Southeast Asia.
new species sightings in other places as well, and
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Is it alien?
it's from an no, I don't think it is. But there is a new. God dang it, you brought that up. So yeah. So let's jump to that because I like keeping track of these new life forms that pop up or rediscovered ones, right? Because I did mention this will be a kind of motif for the show is keeping up with these stories because like when something comes back from the dead, essentially, it's just kind of cool. But speaking of that, a dormant 46,000-year-old nematode roundworm from Siberian permafrost was brought back to life. So more worm news, which is fitting because we're going to be talking about birds in a second. Birds eat worms. I didn't fully. Okay, well here we go. This is from SputnikGlobal.com. Put that in the chat there. This microscopic female worm, known as Latin name, was found in a state of suspended animation and later started reproducing in a laboratory dish. Ancient 46,000-year-old roundworms from the Siberian permafrost, called nematodes, have been successfully revived by scientists. The discovery also revealed that worms belong to a new, or in fact old, species of nematode. So, okay, I didn't read this article fully. I just had it as a backup, really. But from what I know about roundworms, those are the ones that they get stuck in your lungs or something, and then when you cough, you 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 cough up the eggs, right? And then you cough up something, and then you swallow into your gut, and like that's how the cycle keeps going. So roundworms aren't really that pleasant, from what I know of. And maybe this is a different type of roundworm, but this article should probably tell us. Maybe I'll finish that. It says this remarkable revival serves a practical purpose beyond its wow factor. Scientists are interested in studying how these creatures enter a state of dormancy to survive extreme conditions. Understanding the molecular mechanisms behind this process could provide insights into how animals adapt to changing environments amid global warming and shifting weather patterns, potentially aiding in the conservation of current species. Previous instances of resurrecting ancient organisms include viable crustaceans and microscopic animals, known as uh, some weird Latin name, from the Siberian permafrost. However, this roundworm sets a new dormancy record, surviving tens of thousands of years in suspended animation. The species was embedded in frozen soil retrieved from a gopher hole around 130 feet below the surface. How'd they know it was a gopher hole? And radiocarbon dating estimates its age to be approximately 46,000 years. Researchers are intrigued not only by the age of the specimen, but also by the mechanisms that allow it to enter a state of dormancy. They found that preconditioning the nematodes with mildly desiccating conditions before freezing helps them survive better. During this process, the worms produce a sugar called pteralose, which may protect their DNA, cells, and proteins from degradation. The scientists are continuing their efforts to understand the proteins involved in the desiccation tolerance of these ancient nematodes. However, they are curious about the potential limits of how long an organism can survive before being resurrected, which could have significant implications for evolution and the concept of extinction. Despite their typically short lifespan of 1 to 2 months, these revived nematodes have demonstrated an astonishing ability to extend their existence across centuries or even millennia. The study was published in the journal PLOS Genetics. So yeah, more worm news. Another ancient beast brought back from oblivion. Seems like, but yeah, that story also mentioned global warming and climate change, which is another buzzword, kind of like stalemate, right? But this next article has to do with climate change and global warming. It is actually, this is a wait, it's a tweet. This is a tweet from Kyle A. Becker. So citizen journalism here at its finest. So it says a groundbreaking study reveals alarming 96% of US climate data is tainted by warming bias. A groundbreaking study called Corrupted Climate Stations, the official US surface temperature record remains fatally flawed, has uncovered shocking results. Approximately 96% of US temperature stations used to measure climate change fail to meet the acceptable and uncorrupted placement standards set by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. The research, conducted by the Heartland Institute, utilized satellite and in-person surveys to assess NOAA weather stations, contributing to the official land temperature data in the United States. The study reveals that an alarming 96% of these stations are affected by localized urbanization effects, leading to a heat bias due to their proximity to asphalt, machinery, and other heat-producing objects. This violates NOAA's own published standards and raises concerns about the accuracy of long-term climate warming trends in the country. Heartland Institute senior fellow Anthony Watts, who directed the study, expressed his concern. With a 96% warm bias in the United States temperature measurements, it is impossible to use any statistical methods to derive an accurate climate trend for the US. Data from the stations that have not been corrupted by faulty placement show a rate of warming in the United States reduced by almost half compared to all stations. On page 17 of the report, a chart presents 30 years of data from NOAA temperature stations in the continental United States. It talks about this graph here, so go look at the graph while I read this. The yellow line depicts temperatures from non-compliant stations near artificial hotspots. The red lines show the official adjusted temperature released by NOAA. The blue lines represented recorded temperatures and trends from compliant stations. The aggregate data from compliant stations shows a significantly lower temperature increase compared to the flawed temperature reading stations in the NOAA's adjusted anomaly line. This seriously undercuts the prevalent bias in the mainstream media supporting global warming alarmism. Alarmism. That's how you say it. These findings call for urgent action and greater adherence to scientific standards in climate data collection. So, I got some biased data there from bad placement of data collection centers, apparently. So that was followed by or preceded by three stories from different sources, all talking about how shit's going to get worse because it's getting warmer. So that good juxtaposition there, I think. Maybe ease some of this alarmism that has been very prevalent. And just to harp on the climate thing even more, I've got another tweet here. It's about another study. This tweet is from Kinoka the Great. I'll put it in the show notes. It says a Lancet study revealed that cold weather is responsible for approximate cold weather, right? So we're talking about cold weather now, not warm weather. The study said that cold weather is responsible for approximately 90% of the 5.1 million annual excess deaths attributed to temperature. If the cold causes 9 times more deaths than heat, would fewer people die if global temperatures were warmer? And that's the end of the tweet, and it does provide a quite convincing graph of cold deaths versus heat deaths. And there is a source link to the Lancet.com journal there for you to dig out if you so desire. But yeah, I just thought it was something important to point out that you can find both ends of the spectrum, right? The cooling and the warming, and well, maybe not so much the cooling, but you can find both ends of the spectrum of how global warming is bad and it's happening, and we can see that it's maybe not really that way. Anyway, it's just interesting how stories contradict each other sometimes. And this does bring us to our last story. And this is more, I put this in here because it is a big silver lining. This is from CNBC.com. Put it in the chat for you guys. The IRS halts most unannounced visits to taxpayers, citing safety concerns. Imagine that, right? I'm just going to read the key points here because, it's
I
good.
feel bad for anybody that had that job, but it still makes me smile hearing you read that story.
Hell yeah. See? Yeah. I can't. Yeah. Anyway, the IRS on Monday halted a decades-long practice of unannounced visits to homes or businesses to collect unpaid balances for most taxpayers. The decision comes amid safety concerns from IRS employees and taxpayers, according to IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel. Effective immediately, the agency will now make initial contact via mailed letters to schedule in-person meetings. Yeah, good luck with that. Let me just call the IRS and schedule my meeting. So definitely some silver linings there to wrap that segment up. I did see another story that I didn't include in here, but it said something about speaking of silver linings, that there's a sugar shortage in which might affect candy sales in October for Halloween. So not too exciting, but maybe another silver lining to
That sounds like a benefit to America.
it does.
Oh no, we have to give out apples instead.
Apples with hammerhead worms.
And razor blades. And anthrax.
Just
Bill, you're sadistic.
anthrax for Halloween. Yeah. So
Oh, awesome if I got an anthrax CD for a Halloween candy gift.
I wish I gotta talk to Derek and figure out how I can play like popular, like licensed, maybe get licensed songs on here for sound drops or whatever. But yeah, so that was the silver segment, and the silver segment is all about finding the silver linings and remembering that maybe it's not all that bad. This too shall pass, right? And excuse me while I turn the light on because I have to read now for the sword segment. Handy dandy light. So sword segment. Sword segment is all about being impeccable with your thoughts, really. And that is totally tied into being impeccable with your word, which is one of the agreements that Don Miguel talks about, which I will hopefully tie back into this reading about healing from Neville Goddard. And this is a chapter 6 from his book Freedom for All, and published in 1942. And it's relatively short. I try to keep these excerpts short just because. So, healing. The formula for the cure of leprosy, as revealed in the 14th chapter of Leviticus, is most illuminating when viewed through the eyes of a mystic. This formula can be prescribed as the positive cure for any disease in man's world, be it physical, mental, financial, social, moral, anything. It matters not about the nature of the disease or its duration, for the formula can be successfully applied to any and all of them. Here is the formula as it is recorded in the book of Leviticus. Then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean, and the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed. As for the living bird, he shall take it and shall dip it in the blood of the bird that was killed, and he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field, and he shall be clean. That is from chapter 4, chapter 14, verses 4 through 8 in Leviticus, if anybody wants to look that up. A literal application of this story would be stupid and fruitless, while on the other hand, a psychological application of the formula is wise and fruitful. A bird is a symbol of an idea. Every man who has a problem or who desires to express something other than that which he is now expressing can be said to have 2 birds. These 2 birds or conceptions can be defined as follows. The first bird is your present outpictured conception of yourself. It is the description which you would give if you were asked to define yourself. Your physical condition, your income, obligations, nationality, family, race, and so on. Your sincere answer to these questions would necessarily be based solely upon the evidence of your senses and not upon any wishful thinking. This true conception of yourself, based entirely upon the evidence of your senses, defines the first bird. The second bird is defined by the answer you wish you might give to these questions of self-definition. In short, these 2 birds can be defined as that which you are conscious of being and that which you desire to be. Another definition of the 2 birds would be the first, your present problem, regardless of its nature, and the second, the solution to that problem. For example, if you were sick, good health would be the solution. If you were in debt, freedom from debt would be the solution. If you were hungry, food would be the solution. As you have noticed, the how, the manner of realizing the solution, is not considered. Only the problem and the solution are considered. Every problem reveals its own solution. For sickness, it is health. For poverty, it is riches. For weakness, it is strength. For confinement, it is freedom. These 2 states, then, your problem and its solution, are the 2 birds you bring to the priest. You are the priest who now performs the drama of curing the man of leprosy, you and your problem. You are the priest. And with the formula for the cure for leprosy, you now free yourself from your problem. First, take one of the birds, your problem, and kill it by extracting the blood from it. Blood is man's consciousness. And then he quotes from Acts chapter 17, verse 26. He hath made of one blood all nations of men to dwell on all the face of the earth. Your consciousness is the one and only reality which animates and makes real that which you are conscious of being. So turning your attention away from the problem is equivalent to extracting the blood from the bird. Your consciousness is the one blood which makes all states living realities. By removing your attention from any given state, you have drained the lifeblood from that state. You kill or eliminate the first bird, or problem, by removing your attention from it. Into this blood, your consciousness, you dip the live bird, the solution, or that which heretofore you desired to be or possess. This you do by freeing yourself to be the desirable state now. This dipping of the live bird into the blood of the bird that was killed is similar to the blessing of Jacob by his blind father Isaac. As you recall, blind Isaac could not see his objective world, his son Esau. So, you too are blind to your problem, the first bird. For you have removed your attention from it, and therefore you do not see it. Your attention, blood, is now placed upon the second bird, subjective state, and you feel and sense the reality of it. 7 times you are told to sprinkle the one to be cleansed. This means you must dwell within the new conception of yourself until you mentally enter the 7th day, the Sabbath, until the mind is stilled or fixed in the belief that you are actually expressing or possessing that which you desire to be or to possess. At the 7th sprinkle, you are instructed to loose the living bird and pronounce the man clean. As you fully impress upon yourself the fact that you are that which you desire to be, you have symbolically sprinkled yourself 7 times. Then you are as free as the bird that is loosed. And like the bird in flight, which must in a little while return to the earth, so must your subjective impressions or claim in a little while embody itself in your world. This story and all the other stories in the Bible are psychological plays dramatized within the consciousness of man. You are the high priest. You are the leper. You are the birds. Your consciousness, or I am, is the high priest. You, the man with the problem, are the leper. The problem, or present concept of yourself, is the bird that is killed. The solution of the problem, what you desire to be, is the living bird that is freed. You reenact this great drama within yourself by turning your attention away from your problem and placing it upon that which you desire to express. You impress upon yourself the fact that you are that which you desire to be until your mind is stilled in the belief that it is so. Living in this fixed attitude of mind, living in the consciousness that you are now that which you formerly desired to be, is the bird in flight, unfettered by the limitations of the past, and moving toward the embodiment of your desire. And that is Healing from Neville Goddard. So, initial thoughts from you guys. I have a few things, but I'll open the floor first. So one of the things that struck me was it reminded me of the old Native American, like the two wolves. Like there are two wolves inside of you. You have to choose which one to feed. Like, and then we're talking about two birds here, so I kind of thought that just a different way of saying the same thing, really. The
No,
other
I
thing,
like it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Neville's great. I love Neville. The other thing that popped out to me is the sentence "every problem reveals its own solution." Uh, I wrote "every desire reveals its own end." So I don't know if that's every desire has the seed within it for its um, satiation, to be satisfied, right? Yeah. But I don't know. It was just a thought, maybe half baked. Um, the other thing, the last thing, really, that I have is that turning our attention like, away from the first bird or from the problem, right? I think this is a nod to the mastery of awareness that Don Miguel talks about, and what I would like to accomplish in the sword segment is to kind of connect these dots between some of these thinkers about how we're all being taught the same thing with different they're all teaching the same thing with different words, like different and different vocabulary, right? But when you boil it all down, they're all on the same team, right? But Don Don, just to define attention again, he says that the attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on that which we want to perceive, right? So we're only focusing on the second bird. Second bird. It'd be like a weird chant or something. But yeah, this is totally one of the masteries, one of the 3 masteries that lead people to become Toltecs. This is from Don's book. But the first mastery is the mastery of awareness. And this is to be aware of who we really are with all the possibilities. And the second is the mastery of transformation. This is how to change, how to be free of domestication. And the third is the mastery of intent. And intent, from the Toltec view, is the part of life that makes transformation of energy possible. It is the one living being that seamlessly encompasses all energy, or what we call God. Intent is life itself. It is unconditional love. The mastery of intent is therefore the mastery of love. So what I think Neville definitely talking about the mastery of awareness in there, because we're like I said, we're only paying attention to what we truly, what we are, and that's all the possibilities, and including the one that we desire, right? That's what we should be focusing our attention on. And then Neville's way of, I guess, the art of transformation would be what he calls stilling your mind, which is having that end desire state become second nature to you, like become like first nature, really. And that's when your mind becomes stilled and you have reached that Sabbath point. And after that, that's pretty much where the work stops, right? We've got this, we got the problem and we have the solution, but we're not worried about the how, which is something that Vadum Zeland talks about in not worrying about the how, like the path, the steps, right? Vadum Zeland talks about that in reality transurfing. So, like I said, just a lot of dots to connect. I did find, and maybe we'll probably do this next time, but his concept, Neville's concept of the Sabbath, is super, like, it clarified a lot of things for me from his point of view. So maybe I will read that on the next show. And but that's the chapter preceding, I believe, preceding the one I just read. So once again, we're going backwards in books for some reason. But yeah, what any thoughts, guys, on that? Ben had two birds.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to the his interpretation of how he operates in that space, because it's an ancient and widespread idea of having a day of rest, and I think allowing yourself to get into that creation space, like he was saying, and focus on feeling the outcome of it all, which relates to the healing as well. You gotta feel it to heal it, right?
Exactly. Like one of his books is all about the power of feeling, right? And I think his mastery of transformation, I like it because it doesn't have, 4 bullet points like Don Miguel gives, but um, he gives you practical steps to take about reaching that hypnagogic state and then trying to imagine, keep holding the solution in your mind as you go into that state, which is difficult because it oftentimes just becomes a map. So maybe that's, I don't know.
Yeah, well, mastering your thoughts, right? So becoming the mastermind to your reality creation. So yeah, chanting or something like that is a good way to focus attention.
Yeah. Intention, attention, mastery of attention, the mastery of intent. I think how can you not see the mastery of intent in this exercise with Leviticus and the 2 birds? Like the second bird is the solution. It's what you're intending to be. So I just think that yeah, you can pick out, all 3 masteries in this one story. And it's from completely different uh traditions, right? So like I said, we're all talking about the same thing. Well, not everybody, but some interesting authors are
Well,
saying.
and I mean, it's a lot like the ancient myths being so similar too, right? Sorry, whoever interrupted that,
No,
but
yeah, right. Flood myth. Everyone's doing
I
flood
think
myth.
all those teachings just kind of relate to how it can all boil down to hermetics or whatever, the Kabbalah and all that other stuff, right? So, which tradition do you want to follow and focus your attention on? I guess is the question to answer.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Hermetics. I actually started rereading a book, and I'm bringing this up now because if I say it, then I'll do it next week. But for the silver segment, I was thinking about instead of doing step maybe still do some news stories. We'll see what pops up. But I wanted to cover the parts of the soul as according to the Egyptians, right? Then there's three non-physical parts, and then there's, I guess the three physical parts wouldn't be part of the soul per se, but part of the person, right? So there's six parts of the person according to the Egyptians, and this is where Hermetics, if not started, but it's pretty much where everybody went to learn it, especially the Greeks. Everybody, although a lot of philosophers went over to Egypt to learn in Alexandria. I mean, it's the place where a lot of stuff started. So why not go back to the source and see what they thought about um, how the human body operates after we die and even while we're alive, right? So that'll be silver segment of next show, and then we'll do the Sabbath by Neville Goddard for the sword segment. Well, thank you guys for showing up this evening. Do you have any last minute thoughts before I sign off here?
Well, that was awesome. Thanks to both of you.
Yeah.
No, keep your eyes on the skies. The world's getting wild, and it's nice to see that aliens are finally making it into the mainstream news. So, um, here for more hearings.
You're here. And just to give everybody a quick reminder to sign up for your weekly scalar energy session at mysticalwares.com. You can find that under the scalar energy tab. This week's frequency is overall well-being, and I believe the frequencies are picked based off of group feedback. So definitely sign up, and the session doesn't happen until Friday afternoon, so you have a whole week to do it. Doesn't cost anything, and just see what happens. Sign up for the text notification so you'll know when it starts, and then sit back and observe. See if you can tell anything's different. And besides that, follow us on socials. Please share the show, rate the show. Please help spread the love wherever you can. And until next time, Chrononauts, carpe diem.